Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to give some feedback on Turan's speaking test. So let's get into it. Alright, good evening. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My given name is Turan and family name is Chernov. You can call me just Turan.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Which town or city do you live in?
I'm from Azerbaijan. Capital city is Baku, which is
The capital city is Baku. Fine.
one of the famous city, and it has
One of the famous cities. So I'm not sure about one of the famous city. We often use this one of with superlative adjectives, right? It is one of the most famous cities, and then where it's one of the most famous cities in Central Asia, or it's the most famous city in my hometown. It's one of the famous cities. Just sounds strange.
quite more population than other cities.
It is quite more population. So that's not how we talk about population. So with populations, we often use the word like high or low. So it has a higher population than other cities. Or we talk about people. There are more people here than in other cities. But it has more population. Sounds strange. And do you like living in Baku?
Yes, I like, and the reason
Yes, I like is not how we give our short answers. It sounds like I'm being negative early. Sorry about that. But we usually repeat the modal verb. So when we say, do you like something? The short answer, yes, I do. Have you been to Spain? Yes, I have. Can you dance? Yes, I can. We don't usually say, do you like it? Yes, I like. Have you been to Spain? Yes, I have been. Do you like it? Yes, I do. Not yes, I like.
behind that,
Cool. The reason behind that, very nice.
as I mentioned earlier, it is quite a place.
It's a quiet place. Sounds like quite or quiet. Slightly, slight mispronunciation. Quiet has two syllables. Quite has one syllable.
It has so less population.
Again, so less population. So again, the population is so low, or there are not so many people living here, or the population is so small. Populations can be small, they can be low perhaps, but less population sounds strange. Less is usually comparative, and it's usually used with adjectives or nouns. There are like, I have less time than I used to have, but it's usually comparative. So I don't know, it has less population or it is less population. Not sure. Yeah, it's just, I know what you mean, but grammatically it's not accurate.
And it is good for tourists.
And do you, cool, good for tourists? Maybe back that up with an example, but okay, you might feel like you've developed enough. Yeah, the length of the answer is fine there. Think you will continue living in this place in the future?
I don't think so because
I don't think so. That's cool. Notice the candidate does have a problem with this th sound, like many candidates. So typically, if you have a candidate from South Asia, usually they replace their the and th with a d and a t. With some people they just use a v or a f, like this thing. With many people who speak Slavic languages and many people in Central Asia, they often replace their the with a z and a s. Many German speakers use this too, z and s. Z sing is. And I think we will see this quite a lot in this candidate's speaking, where they don't have that phoneme the and th. They can't produce it, so they replace it with z and a s. So that thing becomes that sing, that sing.
I want to pursue a degree on Lithuania.
Want to pursue a degree. Again, pursue a degree is okay. It feels a little bit heightened, a little bit formal. Like do a degree is a lot more natural. So pursue a degree just sounds a bit strange. Kind of said on Lithuania, it should be in Lithuania, but that's not a big deal.
And living there for a couple of years and later to move on other European cities.
To move on other European cities? To move to other European cities? All right, let's move on now and talk about social media. How often do you use social media?
I use social media almost every day, such
Cool, almost every day. Very nice adverb of frequency.
as such an Instagram. I'm
Did he say such as or such an? I'm not sure.
I use social media almost every day, such an
Got such as and then change to such and, such as
Instagram.
Instagram.
I'm generally scrolling for fun.
Simple is probably better. I generally scroll for fun, but I'm generally scrolling. This use of continuous is becoming more popular, so it's okay. I'm generally scrolling for fun. I like this use of scrolling. One thing I feel, though, is because the candidate has accessed this word scrolling, which is a very precise, that type of like C1-ish type of topic-specific language, that kind of breaks his fluency. So when he uses the word scrolling, I don't know, the language, the fluency just breaks down a little bit after.
Generally scrolling for fun.
So you notice this repetition of for fun. And sometimes, doesn't always happen, but sometimes with candidates who are like B2 level, when they try to use some of these less familiar words or these higher level words, it sometimes interrupts the flow of their speech. And it's something I had an impression that happened to Turan in this test. So I'm looking for some examples of this to see if it happens more.
And I'm following I'm following some
Yeah, fluency is breaking down here.
popular persons.
The most common plural form of person is people. I follow some famous people. Persons, we sometimes see it in like contracts and in legal documents, or maybe in elevators, like no more than 10 persons or something like this. But in everyday speech, we don't use persons. The plural is people. And do you ever upload pictures to social media?
I don't like to upload picture because I'm
Yeah, it just feels a little bit I don't like to upload picture. So we really want to link those. When we have like verb plus infinitive, I decided to do it, I wanted to do it, I hope to do it. We usually link those things. I love to do it. So that verb, first verb, the finite verb like or love, and then the infinite verb to do really should be linked better. So just notice the pause between like or love. I think candidate use love and to do.
upload picture because I don't like to upload picture because
I don't like to upload picture. Now, it's okay to think about the right word. Sometimes our speech can become disconnected while we hesitate to try to find ideas, but it's just something to consider. We want to look for signs of connected speech, and one way we can connect our speech is with those infinitive constructions. I want to do something. I decided to do something. I don't like to do something. I don't like to upload pictures. Like to upload.
I'm very um, I like the confidence a lot.
So I lack the confidence a lot. That word lack doesn't quite come through. I can hear what he's saying, but I can imagine a person might misunderstand that and hear like the confidence, but lack confidence. And not the confidence, but confidence. But article mistakes, we know articles are tough for many, many, many candidates.
I don't upload anything.
Again, we get that anything. Notice that anything. And do you communicate with friends using social media?
Yes, I use Telegram and WhatsApp for communication.
Again, WhatsApp could just be pronounced a little bit more clearly. So I think sometimes, and I have lots of friends from the UK who don't speak very clearly, and sometimes it's hard to understand what they're talking about. But in the speaking test, we really want to, as much as we want to use natural language, I think it is important to be careful with how we pronounce certain words. Notice this pronunciation of WhatsApp. It's not a big deal, but it just feels a little bit like a lazy pronunciation of WhatsApp. So yes, I use Telegram and WhatsApp. I think that's clear pronunciation, but just listen here. With friends using social media.
Yes, I use Telegram and WhatsApp for communication.
So WhatsApp, maybe. So just be careful. Make sure that what you say is clear and understandable.
And they help a lot because
Notice they is changed to duh. So the th sound has become a s, and the sound is a little bit of a duh.
I don't like call. I don't like calls a lot.
Candidate does self-correct quite a lot. I don't like calls. Maybe Jared here, I don't like calling people. Don't like speaking on the phone.
I prefer texting. That's
Cool. Prefer texting. Jared, nice.
why they are my preferred choice.
That's why they're my preferred choice. Fine. That's why. Very nice cohesive device. Discourse marker. That's why they, Telegram and WhatsApp, are my preferred choice. Participle adjective preferred. My what type of choice? My preferred choice. The choice that I prefer. My preferred choice. Cool. Nice. And have you ever taken a break from social media? So notice my use of have you ever taken. This is present perfect. Have you ever done? This third form. Have you ever seen? Have you ever eaten? Have you ever chosen? Have you ever taken?
Yes, I've took a lot of break from social media.
I've took a lot of break. So a couple of problems here. First, not I've took, but I've taken. No, there are many. I've noticed there are some varieties of English in Scotland, for example, where they often use second forms instead of third forms. I've took it, or I've went there. That's a common one in Glasgow, I think. So I wouldn't punish that heavily, but since that language is in the question, and the candidate could paraphrase more. I've noticed a couple of times now, maybe 3 times, where the candidate has just echoed back the language that is in the question. They've echoed it back instead of paraphrasing. A little bit of echoing is fine, but remember for, band 6 and band 7, we really have to see enough evidence of successful paraphrasing. And one way we can paraphrase is to change the wording in the question to something else. There are other ways of paraphrasing too, but also a lot of break. For me, this is a disappointing mistake. Singular nouns versus plural nouns. A lot of suggests plural, but the candidate uses the singular break instead of a lot of breaks. Again, it doesn't stop me from understanding, but I really expect candidates to have, especially at this level, because it's clear that the candidate knows English very well, I would expect the candidate to control better the use of singular nouns and plural nouns. But it's the first error. I think we will see more errors with this, but let's keep going.
Media, and it actually it helped me a lot.
It helped or it helped? Let's see.
It helped me a lot.
I hear help. I don't know if you're using past helped. We should have that t, or if you're using present simple, it help without that third person s. It helps me a lot, or it helped me a lot. I heard help, but I will give the candidate the benefit of the doubt. It's possible that the candidate is using past time. Let's just listen what he said before. If it's about the past before, I will accept it as past.
Why they are my preferred choice.
And have you ever taken a break from social media?
Yes, I've took a lot of break from social media, and it helped me a lot.
Okay, I think it is past time. It helped me a lot. Okay, fine. Then no problem with that. It helped me a lot.
To focus on my study, because
To focus on my study. Study is an uncountable noun. Maybe focus on my studies might be better, but focus on my study. Okay, I'll accept it.
social media are always a cheap way to release dopamine
Great collocation, to release dopamine,
on the brain, which is quite bad.
Which is quite bad. Nice adverb of comment. Sorry, a nice little relative clause of comment.
If you are studying something.
Again, we get that something, something, something. Two clear S sounds, something. So problem with that th. Now let's talk about dreams and ambitions. What were some of your dreams as a child?
As a child,
Notice that echoing back. What were some of your dreams as a child? As a child, so we get quite a bit of echoing.
my dream was to become a lawyer, which is
Also, when we think about full forms and weak forms of vowels, so my dream was to become a lawyer. You notice it in my speech. My dream was to become a lawyer. This two is the full form, the strong form, but the weak form is t. Now, in connected speech and with correct sentence stress, I know the two things are connected, but not the same. But in connected speech, we would expect not that full to, but we would expect to. My dream was to become a lawyer. My dream was to become a lawyer. Not my dream was to become. Oh, I can't do the accent, so let's listen again.
to become a child. My dream was to become a lawyer.
So chunk it, my dream was to become a lawyer. So the words aren't grouped together naturally. The candidate has some problems with fluency, with getting this stuff out. And so the words come out as the candidate acts it. My dream was to become a lawyer. So it just suggests to me that the candidate's flow of speech isn't perfectly natural. It doesn't come out like in an organic way. The candidate is fighting a little bit with the fluency.
Which is I don't know why my surroundings was always saying that you are
So when we talk about surroundings, we usually mean like the area, not people, the people around me, but not my surroundings. Surroundings is like the things, the area which is around us, not people, the people around me.
good at hiding your feelings, which I don't think so. I think the reason
Don't think so, I think so. That I'm not going to mention that th anymore. I feel like I've mentioned it enough. This is a part of the candidate's pronunciation. It doesn't stop me from understanding in most cases, but you know, we should be aware that we have the word sink in English, which is the verb, like to go underwater. If something can float on water or it can sink in water. We also have sink, the part of your kitchen where you wash your plates, where the water goes down. This is also a sink. And so potentially when the candidate uses words like I sink, you know, potentially there is scope for misunderstanding because the mispronunciation of one word means results in the production of a completely different word. But of course, with context, I understand what the candidate means.
behind that they were thinking that
Okay, they were sinking, what they were falling in water, but okay. Enough, I'm not going to mention anything else about th and su.
I'm talking so less. That's why it is good job for me.
I was talking so little, or I wasn't talking so much. So this is now, I think, the second or third mistake we've had with less. So I would definitely recommend that the candidate should understand, should do some study on quantifiers, much, a lot, a little, a few, and also on comparatives, more and less, because the candidate's mixing up those. The candidate is using these comparative structures, more and less, as quantifiers, much, a lot, a few, a little. So that's an area of improvement that could be better. And again, this falls somewhere between grammar and vocab. And do you think that you're a very ambitious person now?
I think so because I have a lot of things in my mind about future. For example, I want to create a company for pen testing in our country
Cool, great vocab.
to help the other companies, um, protecting them from digital attacks.
Again, very nice topic specific language.
Uh,
Preventing them from digital attacks, nice. And also good grammar. It's a nice complex gerund phrase. They prevent somebody from doing something, prevent them from, or prevent somebody from something.
yeah, I think this aim is pretty uh, ambitious.
Cool. So as the candidate comes to the end of the answer, he's struggling to end it in a natural way, and so he ends it in a mechanical way. And do you have any friends or family members who are not ambitious at all?
Um, I don't think so. I wouldn't say so.
Cool. So we've used I don't think so quite a few times. I love that the candidate has switched it up. This is some paraphrasing. I wouldn't say so. I really like wouldn't say so. Very nice.
Because I believe the idea that you are you are average of 5 person on your surrounding, and
5 people. I like that idea though. A person is the average of the 5 closest people to them. It's a nice idea. I hope it's not true.
they are very ambitious uh, about their future. So it's like mirrored into to me.
Okay,
Well, I don't know about mirrored, reflected maybe. Mirrored, I guess you could use. Reflected, maybe a little bit better.
thank you. Now, in this next part of the
So, thoughts on part one. Candidate clearly has a decent knowledge of English, doesn't struggle with answering any of the questions, generates ideas pretty quickly, extends answers reasonably well. There are some grammar mistakes in there, especially with those comparatives and with quantifiers. Fine. A couple of pronunciation issues where the sound, also the chunking, the grouping of the words aren't always appropriate, shall we say, or chunking isn't always appropriate. And the fluency does break down quite a lot. So there are, I would say, some noticeable hesitations, sometimes, mid sentence where the candidate is trying to access language. But okay, don't think anything else to add for part one. So, part two, what does the candidate have to do? Well, the candidate has to describe a skill that he would like to learn in the future. So, notice this is in the future. You have a time to activate some future time constructions if you are a grammatically minded person. Okay, let's see how the candidate does.
You will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
I want to talk about a skill. I always dreamed about it, which is hacking, or ethically called pen testing.
Cool, ethically called, nice participle there.
This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is my dream,
Like this, as I mentioned earlier, it's a nice little cohesive device.
and I want to learn from various online platforms like
Cool. Various online platforms, again, very solid vocab.
Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, which they are giving theoretical information
Which give, I don't know, which they are giving. So which should replace the subject here. So we don't need which they are giving, right? I could say my sister is a person who she is teaching. My sister is a person who is teaching is fine.
about each part of that skill, like Linux, networking, IT fundamentals, which are the fundamental of the hacking. You have to be good
Candidate is clearly very comfortable speaking about this skill.
at those section of item. And I think in order to be really competent,
Cool, with purpose, fronting the purpose. I love this, in order to front the purpose. So in order to lose weight, you have to eat less, or in order to, I don't know, learn English, you have to study grammar and vocab, or whatever. Nice.
in this field, in this skill, you have to dedicate 2 or 3 years at least. And
Cool, like dedicate 2 or 3 years. Very nice again.
even if you want to be a malware developer,
Good. Again, comfortable with infinitives. Want to be.
you have to spend at least 5 years, because this skill you
Well, dedicate 2 years, spend 5 years. All natural collocations.
can use this skill in various environment, in various
Various, again, we should have plural nouns, in various environments. So that problem with the singular plural noun again.
field. That's why it will take that so much.
That's why it will take so long, or so much time. That's why it will take so long. That's why it will take so much time. But not that's why it will take so much.
I think this skill will be very useful for me. As you know, the third
I like this, as you know, but then the next point,
World War will be as digital.
the Third World War will be digital. I don't know about this. As you know, the Third World War will be digital. It's kind of scary, and it's not. The examiner can't mark you down for talking about these scary subjects. As a human, I generally tell candidates and students, like, try to avoid any topic that might make people feel uncomfortable. And in today's world, talking about World War III, makes people feel a bit uncomfortable. But okay, it's again, I can't mark you down as an examiner for mentioning the Third World War.
And the company, the nation,
The company. Which company? I'm not sure which company you mean. The nation. Which nation?
the country
Oh,
will
the nations. Okay.
need those kind of people who have um, this ability, and
Maybe explain what for. I hope I hope you mean the ethical side of hacking.
it will be like their dream to find those kind of people.
Okay. It will be their dream to find those. Okay, I kind of understand what he means. Third World War will be digital, and so it's important that we have enough people who can, protect companies and protect countries from cyber attacks. And so, this position will be in great demand in the future, something like that. That makes sense. So candidate's wording is slightly strange, but I get the main idea of what the candidate is saying. So candidate's fluency is okay. Again, there are noticeable hesitations and recorrections, reformulations and corrections, fine. Vocab particularly strong here. Candidate is very comfortable speaking about this aspect, about this ethical hacking and so on, and so has a lot of topic related language. Vocab very strong. Grammar generally well controlled. That in order to do something, that's a nice bit of grammar. I mean, we do teach that at B2. A couple of like simple infinitives, like have to do something or want to do something. I know there are people who say have to do is not an infinitive. It's not a full infinitive. It's have to plus simple infinitive. But okay, let's not worry about those details. So candidate controls reasonably well for basic grammar, and some like intermediate-ish grammar is well controlled. A little bit of range with that, like in order to do something, but nothing really beyond that. So yeah, decent B2 grammar, decent B2 level, I think, with grammar. Pronunciation, again, clear enough. We know that there's not that full phonological range. Intonation is okay. Candidate is just a little bit of a mechanical speaker where, words are pronounced individually. So probably won't get the highest scores for pronunciation, but most importantly, generally the candidate is clear, and there is some evidence of intonation there.
Thank you. All right, so you've been talking about a skill you'd like to learn in the future. Let's move on now and talk about skills in a more general sense. What are some important life skills that you think all people should have?
I think it's not quite well known, but we have to have
It's not so well known, it's not very well known, so use of quite is a bit strange here too.
some survival kind of skill.
Love the survival skills, nice.
I don't know, like
Candidate is struggling to find an example, but I think that hesitation is not for language, I think it's for content. So candidate's just trying to think, oh, but what do I mean survival skill? But maybe the candidate lacks the vocab to name some of those skills. So I'm not sure if this is content related hesitation or language related hesitation.
climbing a tree. I don't know if we can consider this as a skill,
Cool. I don't know if we can consider this as a skill. That's good. Nice complex sentence there. Nice bit of grammar.
but climbing tree, fixing like basic things at home.
Climbing a tree, fixing basic things at home, using gerund as the subjects. Nice.
Um, um, yeah, those kind of things.
Again, so the candidate has that small problem with fluency where when he comes to the end of his answer, he breaks down a little bit, isn't sure what to say, and then ends it a little bit flat. It doesn't end the turn in a natural way.
And how can we make
Will be
sure that,
useful.
how can we make
There is, I guess, some internet, small, minor internet problems.
sure that all people have these skills? Do you think it's something that should be taught at schools?
No, they are so basic things. I don't think
Such basic things, not so basic things.
they have to be taught in school, but rather our parents should teach us when we are child.
When we are children. So when you are a child, or when I am a child, when we, plural, are children.
They should be like as a base skill in our toolkit.
Love this use of toolkit. I like it.
Yes.
What do you
And again, yes, again, candidate doesn't quite end his turns naturally. Just stops short. Yes. Next.
think's more important with skills? Do you think practicing and learning is more important, or do you think some people are just naturally born with certain skills?
I absolutely believe that every skill can be learned by practicing.
Can be learned. Nice passive infinitive there.
If we are talking about digital skills,
Cool. If we are talking about, very nice.
It's especially important to practice a lot. But in general term, again, you have
In general terms.
to practice the skill in order to be good at it. Otherwise,
Again, we get this in order to be nice.
it will be
And to be good at, that's good collocation.
it will be theoretic and will not stick.
Theoretical, but it will not stick. I love this use of stick. That's like really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
What are some skills that people need to have nowadays that perhaps they didn't 50 years ago?
It is probably digital skills people have now, but they didn't have in the past. And there will be a lot of skills which we will need in the future.
Okay, not quite sure why we're talking about the future here.
And the future people will think that, oh, we didn't think that skill will be useful, but you see the past people use those skills.
So yeah, that answer was just a little bit strange, a little bit incoherent there. So I got the idea digital skills, but there was no development of it. So I dig in a little bit deeper here.
Why do you think some older people refuse to learn things like digital skills?
Bit of hesitation, latency at the beginning. So question is asked and the candidate is just taking a few moments to think of the answer. Latency is one aspect of fluency, that gap between the end of the question and the start of the answer.
That's an interesting question because they have
That's an uninteresting question.
old beliefs about life. They think that they already learned all of the skill they need in the life, but
I think that's a fair point.
as technology evolve
So again, just notice the candidate is struggling with fluency. Just notice this as
in the life, but as technology evolve,
so as is used as technology evolves, not evolve, but evolves. But did he say technologies? Let's see.
as technology evolve,
As technology evolves. So as technology evolves, again, this is present simple, and the candidate hasn't made, I think this is the first mistake the candidate's made with present simple. So not a big deal. One minor slip, not a problem at all.
have to learn a lot of skill, not just in terms of
A lot of skills. So that problem with singular versus plural is repeating, and I think that's probably going to cost him the 7 for grammar, because the range of grammar, I feel like there is enough range to give him a 7, but I feel like the accuracy pulls him down to a 6.
technology, but in terms of life, we are improving, and you need to improve your skill as well.
Let's move on now and talk specifically about musical talent. Is it popular in your country to learn to play a musical instrument?
Yes, it's quite popular actually, and a lot of parents
Cool, I like that answer. No latency. Yes, it's quite popular actually. And that's good you stress on quite. It's quite popular actually. That's good. So nice bit of pronunciation there. Nice bit of sentence stress.
want their children to take
Cool. Want somebody to do something. Again, complex grammatical, complex verb pattern.
to take classes about the music, which I believe that it's very good thing.
Which I believe is a very good thing. So candidates with the with his relative clauses, he does get them right, his which sentences, but he often fails to understand that which is also a pronoun, and then he uses another pronoun, which I believe that is very nice. Which I believe is very nice. So there is a bit of a misunderstanding there.
At least they are trying which field they will choose in the future. They are giving a chance, and
Candidate is definitely becoming more fluent as the test goes on.
that's the way for improvement.
And what do you think is more difficult, to become a pop star or to become an elite musician in an orchestra?
I didn't get the question. Could you please repeat?
Cool. Love this. I didn't get the question using get instead of understand. Very natural.
Which one do you think is more difficult to achieve, to become a famous pop star or to become a musician in an orchestra?
I think it's quite easy to become a pop star.
Candidate also repeats this. I think, I think, I think. Now, this is a language function. Giving your opinion is a language function. And certainly the most common bit of functional language that we use when we give our opinion is I think. However, it's not the only one. Earlier we had I would say, or I would say so. And I would say that is a nice alternative. In my opinion, or as far as I'm concerned. Again, it's a test, and sometimes we should think strategically, at least so we know, like, well, I'm okay with using I think a bunch of times, but I also want to show the examiner that, hey, I don't just know I think, I also have this other functional language in my communicative repertoire, in my communicative arsenal. So a little bit of variety with, instead of I think, I think, I think, I think, I think, just some more variety could be nice.
But the latter one is much more harder.
The former, not the latter. The former was being a pop star. The latter. Oh no, sorry. The latter is much harder. Being a musician in an orchestra. You're right. I'm wrong.
I think it's quite easy to become a pop star, but the latter one is much more harder
Much harder. Not much more harder, but much harder.
because it requires a lot of dedication, resilience, and time. But nowadays we can see that becoming famous in pop field is quite achievable.
Cool. I like achievable, but notice the candidate has to, like, the candidate's fluency breaks down a little bit as he accesses that word achievable, right? So the candidate can produce this nice, like, topic specific C1 type of vocab, but he pays for it with his fluency, because like it's often achievable, so it doesn't naturally flow out of him. He finds it eventually, but there is a cost, and that cost is fluency.
In pop field is quite achievable.
Don't you think that also takes a kind of level of dedication and resilience?
It takes
So I'm just questioning the candidate here. This is a very easy, very common examiner strategy, just to see how the candidate copes under pressure. And one way to do that is to question their opinion. Everyone feels a little bit uncomfortable when somebody disagrees with them and asks them, like, well, doesn't that also da, 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 da?
Of course, every field takes some kind of dedication, but it requires much more
But the candidate is skillfully dealing with that. That is good, good communicative achievement.
less than the latter one. And I believe that almost everyone can achieve this kind of level.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test.
All right, so a good performance by Turan. Let's have a look at some marks. So, fluency and coherence to start. I don't think the candidate is very far away from the 7, but for me it's a 6. So, firstly, I like the length. I like the length of your answers, and I think that you use a nice range of discourse markers. Cool, that's why, in order to, because of this and so on. I think that range is nice. So that's good. However, there are noticeable hesitations and reformulations, and these are often language related and often occur mid-sentence. So, you know, those mid-sentence breakdowns when you're speaking, and then you're trying to think of something new. So I feel like those things are noticeable, and they do put a mild strain. So while you have some elements of band 7, certainly you have some elements of C1 here, for me, the hesitations just cripple the score and just put it down to a band 6. Lexical resource, again, you're close to the 8, but for me, 7. So you use a wonderful, you show an excellent level of vocabulary when speaking about hacking. Really, really, really good topic specific stuff. And generally, you have enough vocab to talk about a wide range of subjects. You know, some are better than others, like when you talk about hacking, really access a lot of language. Occasionally, though, it takes you some time to access that higher vocab, and there are enough instances where it feels like a lack of vocab results in answers that fail to give enough detail. Like I mentioned, those survival skills, and it just felt like, oh, if you had more vocab, you mentioned climbing trees, but if you had more vocab, you'd probably be able to develop that better. Like, yeah, basic survival skills, like how to survive in the forest, like how to tell the difference between poisonous mushrooms and non-poisonous mushrooms, but also things like how to climb a tree, you know, all of those situations that we might find ourselves in when we're like under threat and we have to make sure that we are safe. That type of vocabulary would help you to be more detailed, and I just felt like not enough for the 8 in terms of the detail that you go into. But very good lexical resource. Grammatical range and accuracy, for me, this is also going to be a 6. So again, you show a very nice range of sentences and structures, and you are particularly good at verb patterns. So verb patterns, those gerunds, those infinitives, like want to do something, want somebody to do something, prevent somebody from something. Those verb patterns, you're pretty good with them. However, at times your accuracy is lacking, especially with 3 things: comparatives, quantifiers. Quantifiers is right between that grammar and vocab. Comparatives, quantifiers, and singular plural nouns. So those errors, specifically with grammar, for me, that means I don't want to give you a 7 for it. Sorry. And for me, maybe... is there enough for a 7 for pronunciation? I just want to double check with the band descriptors. Just give me a moment. All right, so I think I am going to award the 7 for this. So the pronunciation features is always like... I don't like the way they set up in IELTS where they say like, oh, they have, so a band 7 means you have all of the positive features of a band 6 and some but not all of the positive features of a band 8. And it's like, okay. But I certainly feel, this is a common thing with examiners where I just feel the impression is that the candidate's performance is better than a 6. The candidate's performance is probably a 6.5. And sometimes, sometimes examiners put the horse before the cart. Sometimes it's the examiners, and I think if most examiners were obvious, they would probably tell you this is true, that they decide on your score first. They just feel like, oh, that candidate's about a 7, or that candidate's about an 8, or that candidate's about a 6.5. And then based on that impression, they award marks to result in that thing. I try to do this the opposite, where I try to think objectively about each criterion and then award the mark. But I do feel like, somewhere along the line, the candidate probably will get 6.5 for this performance. So most importantly, it's easy enough to understand you. It's easy to understand you. There are some repeated mistakes, especially with the, but that's not a big problem. That's just an accent thing, and the accent doesn't leave, it's not a huge problem. I understand when you say sink that you mean think. Right, I understand that. There is some good use of intonation. So it might not be sustained throughout. Some parts of pronunciation are a little mechanical. But there are also some parts where it's like there is sentence stress that's evident here. Like I absolutely love it. Or there was something with quite actually, and that intonation. Excuse me. That intonation with actually, I remember that was like, oh yeah, that's a nice bit of natural intonation. So remember, we mark these positively. We don't think like the candidate did that negatively, let's take marks away. No, we try to see what is in the candidate's speech and try to find the best fit. And maybe for pronunciation, there might be enough for a 7 in there, maybe. So overall, that leads to 6.5, and I think, most examiners would probably award 6.5. They might decide 7 for fluency and coherence and 6 for pronunciation, or they might decide 7 for grammatical range and accuracy and 6 for pronunciation, or something like this. But for me, it's enough for a 6.5, not quite enough for a 7, but a little better than a 6. 6.5, amazing. Areas of improvement, I'd say, there are target these areas of grammar, quantifiers, comparatives, singular, plural nouns. These are quantifiers you'll probably find in more of a B1 resource. Comparatives, you can find that... Oh, sorry, quantifiers you'll find in B2. Now, B2 upper intermediate quantifiers is an extremely difficult thing. Maybe even learning B1 quantifiers and you'll be okay. B1 comparatives, also very difficult part of B1 intermediate grammar. Singular and plural nouns, I'd also think about countable, uncountable nouns and find something from B2 upper intermediate source for that. That would help to boost your grammar score. Some people just lack a little bit of fluency, and I can't say be more fluent or be more careful about your hesitations, because everybody knows when they are fluent, when they're not fluent. I might say, to improve, practice doing, and this is something everyone can do, practice doing part 2 with a stopwatch. Record yourself. Try to identify patterns in your disfluency. I spelled disfluency with a Y. I know a lot of people write it D-I-S. I spell disfluency with a Y. That's how I roll. It's cringe. So again, without knowing the candidate, I can't really say, I can't diagnose the problem. I can only say that these hesitations will cost you that 7. And if you want to get to the 7, there has to be improvement. And so one thing I would do is I would record myself and then look for patterns. When do I break down? Do I break down when I'm trying to use grammar? Do I break down when I'm trying to use language that's a bit too difficult for me? And if that's the case, maybe I should try simplifying my language and seeing if my fluency improves then. So, try to identify those patterns that cause disfluencies. It might help you. Lexical resources, absolutely fine. No need to worry there. You could benefit. Oh, the last thing, the last point I'll make is try to show a little more variety with giving your opinion. I mentioned this in the feedback, right? Instead of just every time I think, try other things like I would say, or in my opinion, or as far as I'm concerned, or to my mind. We don't want to overuse too many of those. Using I think a lot is fine, but we don't want I think to be every time we give the opinion. So those are my 3 areas of improvement. The middle part, improving that fluency, that's going to be a difficult thing. But overall for me, a band 6.5 I think is fair. I expect the candidate in the real test, I think the candidate probably will get 6.5 in the real test, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got 7.0 for speaking. But for me, this performance is 6.5. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Turan's speaking test. If you agree or disagree with anything that I say, of course, feel free to leave it in the comments. I don't get everything right. I only try to give my perspective as clearly as I can. If you would like your own free practice speaking test with this type of feedback, 50 minutes of valuable feedback specifically about your language performance, very useful stuff. If you'd like that, or if you'd like me to check your IELTS writing, you can request this in the Telegram group. A link to the Telegram group, the Telegram channel is given in the description below. But I will leave it there for now. Have a wonderful day and see you all very soon. Bye-bye.